छोड़ देने में और लग के कर दिखाने में, मान लेने में कि जिंदगी ऐसे ही कटेगी, और सुबह 4 बजे उठ के सोचने में कि अभी तो बस शुरुआत है। किसी मैगजीन को हाथ में लेने में और उसी मैगजीन के कवर पेज पे होने में इतना सा ही तो फर्क है। वीआईपी सीट में और उसकी पिछली सीट में इतना सा ही तो फर्क है। वो जिसका मैदान ही खुला आसमान है, वही कल जमीन पर तो था। पूछोगे तो बताएगा वो पंछी कि एक दायरे में सिमटने में और पूरी दुनिया को दायरा बनाने में बस इतना सा फर्क है। इतना कितना है? इतना है या इतना है? जो नापेगा वो जाने कि जहां धरती और आसमान मिलते हैं, नानकुर से दूर, अगर मगर शायद से दूर, वहां भी दोनों में फर्क बस इतना सा है। धरती और 7वें आसमान में फर्क बस इतना सा है। ये एक अंतर प्रेरणा है। ये हमारी, आपकी, हम सब की अंतर प्रेरणा है। एक कदम, एक छलांग, एक बाजी, एक गहरी सांस और एक ललकार खुली हवाओं में कि हाँ मैं बना हूं उन फिजाओं के लिए, कि हाँ मैं बना हूं उन ऊंचाइयों के लिए जो ऊंची तो बहुत है पर नामुमकिन भी नहीं, क्योंकि मुमकिन और नामुमकिन में बस इतना सा फर्क है। धूप छांव में फर्क बस इतना सा है। तो बस चलिए फ्रेंचाइज इंडिया के साथ ये फर्क मिटा देते हैं। फ्रेंचाइज इंडिया।
Good afternoon, friends. A very warm welcome to our Business Opportunity Over Chai. And this special edition, Business Opportunity Over Chai, will help you to understand the greatest business opportunity that we, Franchise India, bring specially curated for you. Franchise India Business Opportunity Over Chai is management by Franchise India team, Mr. Gaurav Maria, Chairman at Franchise India Group, and Ms. Sonia Chaudhary, MD at Franchise India Brands Limited. Every day, 12 o'clock, we'll launch a new brand to explore new business opportunity. So today we have bringing a great iconic brand, Float, powered by eBikeGo, transforming tourism through e-smart EV. With this starting investment of 14 lakh rupees. To know more about this business opportunity, I would like to invite Mr. Omkar and Head in Development Department, Mr. Saras Gupta.
Thank you very much, Harshika. That was merely a very warm welcome that you did, and a very warm welcome to all the audience who are live here and also watching us live on Facebook and YouTube. So, friends, as Harshika said, Business Opportunity Over Chai is a daily webinar that we do, and this is where we bring some iconic brands, futuristic brands to you for your service to understand the business model that can really help you get the best ROI. The definitions of ROI have definitely changed. So the classical definitions of ROI used to be return on investment, but now the definition has become return on intelligence. So why not get returns on some intelligence and a model which is like a FICO model, which is franchisee invested company operated model, where you can always get into diversified business with currently continuing what you're doing and of course generate a second source of income. For that, I would like to invite Mr. Omkar. Mr. Omkar is working as probably heading the operations part as a vice president, sales and strategy. So Omkar ji, बहुत 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 स्वागत है आपका. And we are very eager to hear about this business opportunity that we have in the new segment, the futuristic business that we're talking about. So tell us more about yourself, how this journey started, and probably we come to the presentation part. And friends, while you're watching us, please use the Q&A box, which would help you put any questions. And after the formal presentation, we'll take each and every question of yours. So over to you, Omkarji. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarasji, for a wonderful induction. So, hi guys, welcome. Today we are here to speak about a very exciting business model which we have created which is in the base of electric vehicles, because right now all the investors are very fascinated about electric investment, like investing in electrics and starting a dealership or selling an electric vehicles, because the return on investment, and it is a very exciting portfolio. But the reality of EV industry is actually very scary, to be very honest, because right now the Indian markets are dominated with all the Chinese players, and anyone, like I literally know, let's say 50 odd people who simply go to China, bring vehicle, a white label, put their own names on it, and are selling vehicles. There are no regulations on everything which is happening here. So it is a very scary industry, to be very honest. From outside, it looks very fascinating. It looks very lucrative, but the end reality is very different from what everyone perceives it to be. So yes, I've been working in this industry for the past 4 years now, and just wanted to share a few insights about the industry to all the audience which have joined us today. So in this model, right now, everyone who wants to invest is looking for dealership. I've met a lot of people who inquire to us about the dealerships, but to be very honest, dealership right now is very risky, because what happens is every alternate month there are norms of government which change, the subsidy policy changes, the battery norms changes. So it is a very volatile market, to be very honest, to invest in, especially the dealership part of it. So we wanted to capture a lot of audience who had interest in diversifying their portfolio into EVs, but at the same time, we also wanted to mitigate the risk. And that is how we've created this business model, which is a FICO model. So FICO, by FICO, what I mean is it is franchisee invested in company operated model. So in this model, what happens is we are trying to mitigate the risk of an investor, because with the Shark Tank culture growing in, everyone has an aspiration to become an entrepreneur. Everyone wants to start their entrepreneurial journey. Anyone and everyone who is working in an organization somewhere aspires to become an entrepreneur. So in order to capture that aspiration, I think this is a model which would perfectly fit into that sort of a target audience, because everyone wants to become an entrepreneur, but at the same time, everyone is very scared to take that first step. So that is where we come into picture, wherein taking that first step is very difficult. So what we want to do is we want to do the hand holding of all the investors. We want to create a base for them. We want them to be actively involved in this FICO investment model, wherein they would become more of a strategic partner, wherein they would help us with all sort of decisions. There would be strategy team and everyone discussing with them, and eventually they'll be calling us shots, but in a controlled environment. So by controlled environment, what I mean is the team which we have currently is a huge team. So we are globally present in four countries right now. And it is an Indian startup, so we are very proud of saying this, that we started in India in 2018, and today we have our global presence in 4 countries. So it is, in a way, it is an achievement that being an Indian country, we are having presence in US, we are having presence in Europe, we are having presence in Oman. So all these countries are a hub of EVs. Like there is a lot of adaptation purely because of a lot of policies from the government that is contributing in the adoption of EV. So that is where we are coming into picture. So we have a huge portfolio of vehicles. We have close to 20 vehicles in our portfolios, which we manufacture here in India, and we export it to the European and the North American markets. So that is the primary business of eBikeGo. So the time when we started eBikeGo, we had a pure vision of working towards only 3 principles, which is people, planet, and profitability. So I think these are the 3 bases which we want to work on. And we started purely as a rental aggregator, wherein we were providing vehicles to players like Swiggy, Zomato, Big Basket, Amazon. Take one big name in the B2B industry, and we have served them for the past 4 to 5 years. We have successfully run a fleet of more than 2,500 vehicles. So running an EV fleet altogether is a different ballgame, purely because running let's say a ICE engine or a petrol vehicle fleet is much easier, because you get the technicians, you get, if there is a breakdown, you can get it repaired by any local mechanic. But what happens is running an EV fleet has it is a different challenge, purely because the technicians are not fully equipped to repair EV right now. So the infrastructure is lacking. So even in that sort of a bad infrastructure, The B2B adoption of EVs is more purely because of the unit economics, because the unit economics works very well for all the B2B players in terms of deliveries and everything. So I basically come from a hospitality background. Before coming to eBikeGo, I was working with Taj Hotels, and before that I was working with Club Mahindra. So I'm someone who comes from a hospitality segment, and I have a different sort of inclination towards an hospitality industry. But here I'm working with EV purely because it is a growing ecosystem, and I wanted that sort of a growth. So then when I was working in EV for the past 3-4 years, somewhere my heart was still in the hospitality sector. So that is how basically the idea came into my mind, like let us try to collaborate the EV industry and hospitality industry. And I thought that probably what we can do is there is a big problem in the hospitality industry, which is the last mile commute. So by last mile commute, what I mean is, let us take an example that we go to Manali. When we go to Manali or any tourist destination, 90% of our commute happens either through a bus, flight, or train, and it is only the remaining 10% which we commute, that is for sightseeing purpose. That is something which is a untapped market, and there are no organized player in the last mile, which is the sightseeing commute which happens there. So we thought that there is a huge business opportunity here, and that is how we have created this model called as Float. So Float is I would like to share my screen, and just let me know if the screen is visible.
Yes, it is. Probably we see the Excel, or
Yes, can you see
yes,
my
we see it
screen now?
now. Yes, please go
Yes.
ahead.
So when we thought about this problem, we thought that, okay, we have the expertise in EVs, we have the expertise of running a fleet. So we thought, let us use this knowledge and let us transform tourism through our smart EVs. So that is how Float was born. So Float is something which is just a feeling which we wanted to give to the end audience. By float, what we mean is you can float through whenever you are on a vacation. So it is like just moving around with absolute freedom. By freedom, what I mean is, let's say when we are traveling right now in the hospitality sector, what happens is we are only dependent on the hotel travel desk to arrange for our last mile commute. What happens is whenever we have to go to sightseeing, we go to the hotel travel desk and ask them to arrange for let's say a cab or something. And the options which they give us is, let's say, an 8,000 rupee package for a 3 to 4 hour commute, or maybe we try to find something on our own and we get a package of around 4,000 rupees for 2 to 3 hours of sightseeing. And what happens is, usually these guys, the drivers, they take us only to those locations where they have a tie-up with. So they'll say कि okay sir, आप यहाँ पे जाके खाना खाइए, यहाँ पे बहुत अच्छा खाना मिलता है. But actually the reality is something different. The reality is that probably that guy is getting commission from that particular hotel, and that is the reason he's recommending you that hotel. So in a way, you are getting manipulated. Like, let's say if you want to explore any new destination, something which you have seen on Instagram or any travel blogs, if you want to go to that particular location, so maybe if the driver does not want to take you to that location, so he'll say that, yaar, wahan pe kuch nahi hai, there is nothing to see. It is just a misconception that it is a good location. In reality, there is nothing. So in a way, he's doing all these things to manipulate the end audience. So that is something which I think everyone sitting here does not deserve that, because everyone has an aspiration to go on vacation. Like few people might have planned a vacation, few people might be actively planning a vacation. So we actually did not wanted the audience to be manipulated when they are traveling. So in order to solve that problem, we started the Float. We conceptualized Float, let's say a year back. We've been constantly working on all the unit economics of the businesses. And there are a lot of value chains which are involved, even though it looks like a very simple concept to understand, but the value chains involved are very, very high. Like there are a lot of value chains in terms of maintenance, in terms of roadside assistance, in terms of insurance, in terms of finding the right hotel partner. So there are a lot of elements which are involved, which we were trying to crack for the past 1 year. Then what we did is we did a pilot. After doing a pilot, after getting all the data consolidated, all the data verified, rectified, that is when we are ready to launch this product called as Float. So I would love to take you guys through the presentation very quickly without wasting any more time. So let me just introduce you about eBikeGo and what we've been doing for the past 4 years, just to establish some credibility. So eBikeGo is a brand which is into the rental segment, and we've been catering to, as I mentioned earlier, to all the big players in the B2B segment. We have a global presence in 4 countries. We have created our own in-house robust fourth generation vehicle, a vehicle which we have already sold 25,000 units in the European market. So it is a EU designed, I mean European certified designed, which is now manufactured in India. So it is a very unique combination, and it is a perfect product market fit. So we already have a pending PO of let's say 20,000 vehicles, and we have already sold 25. And very soon we are also starting our operations in Oman. So there we have a pending PO of 15,000 vehicles. So that shows that the vehicle which we have created is very strong and very robust, which we'll be using in the hospitality segment as well. Apart from that, the most important factor in running a EV fleet, I feel, is the in-house technology, because I think technology is something which is very important for any business in terms of scalability. So we have our in-house product, which is the IoT device, which is the SaaS product, which eventually acts as a virtual marketplace for this entire business to happen. Apart from that, our core team, there are players from like all the team members are seasoned entrepreneurs. They have already created their own businesses. They have worked with big companies like Tesla, Lafarge, Johnson's Control. So all these companies, they've been working for the past 10, 15 years. One of our co-founders was working with Johnson's Control for 17 years in US. He left everything. He came back to India. And that is how we founded eBikeGo. Again, we have experience of handling more than 2,500 vehicles in our fleet, which is huge in terms of EV fleet. In terms of a normal fleet, probably the number might look small, but handling 2,500 in EV fleet is a huge number. We have more than 1,000 satisfied customers in terms of B2B customers. I'm talking by one customer, I mean it is Amazon or it might be a Zomato. So that means one customer. So in that way, we have catered to more than 1,000 B2B customers across the world. Moving on to the next part, just to give you a very short introduction about the team, the founder, Dr. Irfan Khan, is a very renowned name in the EV segment. He's been working in the EV industry for the past 10 years now. 10 years, I'm saying purely because before 10 years, probably the EV industry did not exist. So he has played a crucial role in forming the Delhi EV policy. He works very closely with Nitin Gadkari ji in formulating the Delhi EV policy. Apart from that, he has also played a vital role in formulating the Nepal EV policy. Again, so he's a very renowned name when it comes to all the EV policies and all the EV infrastructure development. Again, the co-founder of the company is Hari Kiran. He is someone who has been taking care of the operations. He's someone who has worked with companies like Bounce before, and now he's been actively handling the entire operations of eBikeGo, both the India operations as well as the abroad operations. Kedar Suman, I was talking about, he was working with Johnson's Control for the past 17 years, and he left everything, came back to India and formulated the company. Milind Garud is a practicing CA for past 25 years. Now he is one of our co-founders. Then we also have with us Mr. Chandramouli, who is a Chief Business Officer. He's an ex-Franchise India employee. Again, so he was working with Franchise India for the past 7 to 8 years, and now he's acting as a Chief Business Officer at eBikeGo. We also have Somaraju, who was VP Operations. He was working with KPIT. And then there is me. I'm heading this business. I was previously working with Club Mahindra and Taj. So again, we also have a very, very strong advisory team. When I talk about Ivor Briganza is someone who is a personal assistant and personal advisor of the Highness of Oman. So he's an advisor with eBikeGo for the past 2 years, and he brings us a lot of B2B and government tie-ups, and that is how we are also expanding in Oman. Again, Deepak Gaisas is also one of our advisory members. He was a founder of iFlex. He created iFlex and sold it to Oracle for $1 billion. And now he is on our advisory board. And we've been very fortunate enough to be backed by some seasoned entrepreneurs and serial investors like Rohit Chanana, Amit Singhal. They are very renowned name when it comes to the startup culture. So moving on to the next part is the current problems. So the current problems, which I was talking about in the EV industry, is that again we have broadly captured all the elements here, which is the expensive fuel prices, which eventually results in a very ridiculously priced cab fares. The biggest aspect which is missing there is a lack of personal mobility. So by personal mobility, what we mean is that, like in our home, we always have a vehicle which is parked right in outside our house. That the only reason of having a personal mobility is that gives us a freedom to travel anywhere and everywhere we want at any time which we want to travel. So that is something which is lacking in the hospitality sector. One of the major problem right now is the environment. All the tourist places, the flora and fauna of the tourist places is getting depleted very quickly, and in a way we are losing the importance of the tourist destinations purely because of a lot of people are going and spoiling the environment. And the major contributor is the CO2 emission which happens due to travel. So that is something which we are trying to capture here. Again, when we use those cabs which are in an unregulated industry, what happens is it is not clean basically. Especially after COVID, everyone has become very skeptical about the cleanliness and the hygiene factor, because we usually travel with our families, so their safety is something which is very important. So that is something which is currently missing in the EV ecosystem right now. Apart from that, the vehicles are not smart, so they are not connected with any IoT devices or that major element. So with technology is growing, but still we are very much reliant on all the manual infrastructure. So that is why we wanted to solve this problem by bringing in the fourth generation vehicle, which is very robust, which is made in India, which is of European standards. These vehicles do not require a lot of maintenance. It does not require petrol. The major aspect which we want to capture and which will be one of our USPs is the hygiene factor, which would be very well maintained. Apart from that, these vehicles are smart and connected vehicles. Just to give you one instance, an example for relating it with the audience is that, let's say if you're using this vehicle and you go to a remote location, and if the vehicle breaks down and you do not have a mobile connectivity to inform to the hotel that, okay, you're stuck somewhere, this vehicle will ping on its own. The vehicle has an IoT device. By ping, what I mean is the vehicle will send command to the nearest base saying that the vehicle has broken down, and you will get a help at any isolated location. You'll receive a help in around 30-35 minutes. So that is something which is with the use of technology is something which we are using, because whenever we are traveling, usually the location is unknown. We are not 100% sure about the know-hows of that particular location. So the feeling of having someone along with you is something which will be a lot of help to the to the audience who's traveling. Apart from that, it is a very hassle-free journey which we have created for the end audience, wherein you can simply scan the QR code and you can book the vehicle, and the vehicle would be yours for the next 24 hours. Apart from that, tracking and security. And the most important element is that there would be no carbon emission, which you will be doing while commuting in the tourism sector. So how does it works is that we want to place the vehicles in the hotels where maybe any tourist destination, let's say Goa, Manali, Coorg, Gastamudi, Munnar, any locations, the bikes would be placed right inside the hotel premise. We will establish a kiosk in which the bikes would be parked. Anyone who is a audience who is staying in that particular hotel might step out of the hotel room and simply scan the QR code and book it. It is as simple as that. The major element where the franchisee comes in this particular model is that the hotels usually do not invest on the bikes, because running a hotel business or running a hospitality business is very cash flow heavy business. There is a lot of issues of cash flows which happens in the hospitality industry. So no one is willing to invest in the bikes. So that is where the franchisee comes in. So the investment which the franchisee will do, we will buy electric vehicles on the name of the investors. So the bike would be 100% owned by the franchisee who is investing. It would be registered in RTO on the name of the franchisee. And we will keep those vehicles on display in all the tourist destinations across India. So we have few tie-ups about which I'll discuss in the later part. With help of all those tie-ups, we'll be placing your vehicles in all the best locations where we can give you maximum revenue. where we can give you maximum occupancy. So that is something which we have tried to capture here. Apart from that, the booking process is very simple. Someone who wants to book the bike can book it while booking the room. While checking in, he can also, probably a hotel owner can tell him that, okay, we have a facility where you can use a vehicle for your commute. So that is something, that is another touch point where the person can book it. From the room, there would be a small plug cards which would be placed. He can simply scan the QR code and he can book the bike, or he can go to the kiosk and he can book it. So why a hotel? So a lot of people have this question, like why the hotels will allow to keep the bikes? Because in a way, what we are trying to do is we are trying to create a customer loyalty, and a repeat customer will come in. Because let's say if you travel to Manali, you use these bikes, at one destination, all your three basic necessities, which is breakfast, bed, and bike. So all these three basic components which are required are getting resolved at one particular location. So that's why, in a way, it is a one-stop solution for all your requirements. So if that is happening, probably whenever you travel, let's say after Manali, you're going to Goa. If you're going to Goa, probably you'll find a location where you are getting the breakfast, bed, and bike all at the same place. So that is one of the major elements. In a way, we want to establish us in a way that, let's say right now, a lot of people select the hotel based on a lot of filters. We want to create an additional filter wherein people would be filtering by the availability of the bikes on rental basis. So we want to create another segment in that, and that is how we want to disrupt the market. Moving ahead, we have done a pilot in 2 locations, that is Dalhousie and Amritsar. There we were very surprised to get an occupancy of 91%. So what we did is we placed 50 bikes across Dalhousie. We selected Dalhousie because it is a good stimulator to all the hilly locations like Manali or Coorg. So that was giving us a good stimulator for all the locations. We were very surprised to get a 91% occupancy. By 91% occupancy, what I mean is out of 30 days, the bikes which was kept there, on an average, we were getting 27 days occupancy. I mean, by occupancy, I mean the bikes were utilized for 27 days, were taken on rent by the end consumers for 27 days. So that is a huge achievement for the concept validation. Like we had a concept in our mind, and by doing this pilot, we have got a validation to it. Then we also did a pilot in Amritsar. In Amritsar, again, we placed 50 vehicles. There we got an occupancy of 94%. We got an occupancy of 28 days. So then the question came into our mind, why we are getting such higher occupancy? We interacted with a lot of people there, and what we found out is that the second best alternative which is available is, let's say, a 3,000 to 4,000 cab, and we are giving this bike at a price point of 500 rupees. So that is something which attracted a lot of customers, and without spending anything in marketing, we were getting a lot of organic customers. Anyone who is staying in that hotel comes and takes a bike on rent. So that is something, in a way, without spending on marketing, we can acquire a customer, which is, I think, one of the biggest recipe of a successful business model. Without doing or spending a lot of things in marketing, if we are able to capture a good customer audience, I think this is one of the strongest USPs which any business can have. Moving ahead, we also have a few government tie-ups. We had done a press release saying that, okay, eBikeGo is starting something like this, and that this press release was, let's say, a month back. It is still available on all public domains. You can Google it and you'll get it. Based on that, we got response from basically the Andaman Nicobar Island governor. So eBikeGo was invited to Andaman and Nicobar. So this is our founder, Dr. Irfan Khan. He's with the governor of Andaman and Nicobar Island. So there's a biggest problem and biggest challenge of mobility, because it is an island and it is not well connected. I mean, the infrastructural wise, it is poor. So a model like Float would be very attractive and very, it will solve a lot of problems in that particular region. Then we also have got a tie-up with Goa Tourism Board, Maharashtra Tourism Board, and Telangana Tourism Board. We have mentioned it as an upcoming government tie-up because post LOI, the documentations are pending. So once the documentation is completed, we can proudly say that, okay, we have successfully tied up with them. The LOIs are already signed with all the 3 governments. It is just that the few formalities here and there are pending, which should be completed, let's say, in a week or so. So now moving on to the investment model, we want to keep it very simple, like probably in the creative which you saw a minimum investment of 14 lakh rupees, but I want to further break it down to a 7 lakh model, wherein I want investors to come in at a very low price point. Let's say I want someone to start with 7 lakh rupee, if just to get the confidence. Once you're confidence, once you're confident on the product, once you're confident on the company, you can keep increasing your franchisees. Let's say you start with 7 lakh rupees. We will allot you 5 bikes, and it would give you a subscription of the SaaS product for let's say 4 years. Apart from that, the IoT devices, front end setup, kiosk, marketing support, everything would be provided to you in the 7 lakh rupees. So in this 7 lakh rupees, in a way, we have created the entire package, which will earn you very good returns. So what will happen is, how this model works is, let's say there's a bike rental of 500 rupees, which we are taking, and there would be 5 bikes which would be placed at one location, and it has a tenure of 4 years. With 70% occupancy, on an average, the monthly revenue would be around 52,500 rupees. Then there would be profit sharing in this revenue model. 60% will go to the franchisee partner who has invested on the bikes. Then 20% would be given to the hotel partners, purely because they are giving us the customer. I think one of the biggest aspects is customer acquisition, and which is being solved by the hotel partners. And plus, they'll also charge the vehicles. So hotel partner gets 20%. eBikeGo for aggregation gets 10%, and a separate 10% goes to maintenance, because since it is a fleet business, since it is very operations heavy business, having a 10% budget for maintenance every month is very important, because purely because it is a B2C model, the look and feel of the bike and keeping the bike in a proper shape is very important. So for that, we have kept an additional 10% in maintenance. So just to give you an overall summary, if for an investment of 7 lakh rupees at a very, very poor occupancy of 70%, you're still making around 16-17 lakh rupees. So this is at the poorest occupancy of 70%. This is the worst case scenario, because the projections which we want to make are at the worst case scenarios. But again, as you saw, the occupancy which we got at let's say at Amritsar was around 94%, which is 28 days. If we are able to achieve that sort of an occupancy, the returns would somewhere be around 20-21 lakh rupees. So it would be a 3x on your investment, on a very minimal scale, purely because of the government type. So we will be keeping all the vehicles only where the government recognizes that particular hotel, and where there would be a lot of customer walk-ins. So if you are able to achieve 80-85% of occupancy, you can easily make a 3x on your investment. And it is not only about the investment, right? If you purely want to invest in something, there are a lot of options available. This is something where you get a chance to learn everything. Like, this is somewhere where you would be doing the business, you'll be calling all the shots, with all the value-added inputs which the team would be providing to you. That there's one option of learning from it, or someone can say that, okay, I don't want to get into all these things. You take my money and you give me a 3x. It is our job to give you the maximum returns, and the entire team would be working on it.
Right.
So we've been featured with all the big models. You can Google us about eBikeGo, about Float, and all the information is available in the public domains. So that's it from my end, guys. So we would request all to join us in our vision to create a better planet. Plus affordability and profitability remains a very important factor. So that is something which is there.
Thank you, Mr. Omkar. A wonderful presentation, and congratulations for getting a solution for a big problem.
Thanks.
And I really would echo what you said, because especially after COVID and with EV industry coming in, the market is really getting a threat, because before the EV was there, probably they were prominent 25-30 players in the market who were making two-wheelers. But now the number has really gone to 500 plus. Not sure where the survival would be and how big this industry would be. And probably a time would also come, the scareness of disposing the batteries. But again, a problem solution, what I see, is especially for the hospitality industry that you've really come from. And I was really keen to see, and very lucrative to see, that the kind of team, the management team that you've got, a strong, experienced and legacy team that you've got, is absolutely adding a lot of conviction to get into the brand. You're not just like anybody who's taking a distributor of any electric vehicle, but you're going where the problem is. And talking about the hospitality industry is something which is absolutely incubating and going to the next level. Uh, so friends, we are open for questions. I see a lot of questions already been asked in the Q&A box. So please keep on posting the questions in the Q&A box, and the time has come that we will ask the questions directly with Omkarji. So Bipinji is typing, he has given his number. So yes, Mr. Bipin, once we are done with this webinar, our key account managers, our do your own business specialists will call you personally and understand your business opportunity, and we can really help you. He has not mentioned the name, but I think very relevant question he has asked, because Omkarji, you're trying to hit hospitality industry, and we're talking about 3 to 5 star hotels. Why would somebody go on a bike and not take a rental car?
That is a very good question, to be very honest. Yes, yes, absolutely. The question is very correct. Here, it is not about the money aspect. I understand it because I've worked with Club Mahindra, which is, let's say, a 4 star, 5 star property. Again, I've worked with Taj, which is everything is a 5 star property. See, it is not always about the money aspect. The most important factor for everyone is the freedom aspect, right? If you take a car on rental basis with a driver, what happens is, or in terms of a self-driven car also, what there are two separate challenges. Let's say if I take a bike, let's say if I take a bike on rent, that gives me a freedom to go anywhere, come back anywhere, especially when I am traveling. I like to go and sit at any location without having any restrictions. I like to have that comfort that, okay, I have my own vehicle to come back, because usually when you travel, the public infrastructure and public to transport facilities are not available, right? So if you come back late around 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, you will definitely not find a vehicle to commute. Let's say in terms of Ola, Uber is not available at many locations. So there, it becomes very difficult to come back at your own times. Like you cannot come back at a 2 or 3 o'clock in, let's say, a Manali. Absolutely, the roads are vacant. At that time, if you have your own vehicle at your disposal, you can bring the bike back anytime. In terms of self-driven cars, usually all the self-driven cars, if you see, it usually you can take it from the origin. I can take a car from Mumbai and I can go to Manali, but I will not find vehicles in Manali, because that is because everyone can go there and take vehicles on rental basis, right? So all these travel companies usually give you vehicle from origin. You can take a vehicle from Delhi, you can take a vehicle from Mumbai, but you cannot find a vehicle in Manali, parked in Manali. So that is the biggest challenge. So that's why having your own vehicle in tourist destination, it is not always about the money aspect. It is more of the freedom aspect, which we are trying to capture here.
So how does the rental work? Do we go per day, or is it a monthly subscription? How does that work?
No, so like whenever we talk about tourism as an industry, usually people go for 2 to 3 days. So that's
Right.
why we've kept it on a daily basis, and not necessary that every day you'll require a bike. So you can take it for one day, you can take it for 2 days, or anything. Like you can customize it the way you want.
So maybe in that sense, I don't. I think, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm getting a sense that we're majorly doing B2B, and then probably B2C.
Yeah,
The other part will do.
it is basically B2B2C.
Yeah, correct. So my primary focus would be people who are, running hotels and restaurants, not even restaurants, but hotels and lounges. Second would definitely would be the hostels, because there are a lot of students, lying, and of course there are working people hostels, students hostels, which are required, and of course this is where they need a communication that can really happen. Do you
Yes.
think hostel could be the right place for setting
Absolutely,
up
sir.
an outlet like
Absolutely.
this?
Absolutely. So with this staycation sort of a culture coming into picture,
Mm-hmm,
with all this backpacking culture coming into India,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
that becomes one of our biggest audience, because the backpackers usually, like, they are into ecotourism. So this model can be perceived separately in two different aspects. Let's say it can be
mm-hmm.
perceived for a 3 star and above property, it would be more perceived as something which is giving you freedom. Let's say the 3 star and up below, it is more of an ecotourism option.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, very true. Very overwhelmed to see all the questions, and Mr. Tomar is asking about the cost per unit cost average. How does it work?
per unit cost of the vehicle.
Of the vehicle? I
It
think,
is cost at
yeah.
90,000 rupees, but we
Yeah.
are not giving it, we are not selling the vehicles.
Yes, we are not selling it.
Yes,
Tomarji, probably
yes,
we're taking it wrong. We are doing B2B. We are a service provider. We have to understand that we are not opening a
yes,
dealership where
yes,
somebody will come and buy a scooty or a vehicle, probably to service subscription or probably a service that we're providing.
yes. I will
Mr.
also answer the question
Mhm,
that why we are not giving the vehicle, I mean, why we
mhm,
are not selling the
mhm,
vehicles in Indian market right now is because
mhm,
there are two reasons to it. First, being very honest, when I sell it in the
mhm,
European market, I operate at a net margin of around 36%. But when
mhm.
I come down to India, the margins comes down to around 6 to 7%. So that is the honest answer which I'll give you. Second
Mhm.
reason is Indian market right now is cluttered with Chinese products. So people are more thinking about the cost. If someone is getting a vehicle at 60,000, they'll prefer
Correct.
a vehicle above a vehicle which is at priced at 80, 85,000. So India is a price sensitive market and people go for pricing aspect more than the quality aspect, especially in the
Absolutely.
EVs is what is happening currently.
That
So
makes
that's
sense
what
because they're, yeah, you're just going to enter the overcrowded market, and
yes,
that's not what you're looking for.
yes.
Mr. Tomar has the next question. So how do we, monetize the area, the location? So of course we have to do exclusivity of the area. So how does that work?
Yes, so it is again a very good question. So when I talk about franchisees here, someone can take Goa individually. Like let's say if Sudhirji wants to do entire Goa, like he wants to take an entire Goa or let's say an entire Andaman and Nicobar, that option is available to us. Like you can take an entire Goa or an entire Andaman and Nicobar. Right now, only two options are available. If but what we want to do is for an entry level investor, what we want to give is we want to give a 7 lakh rupee entry point, which is just a tester, you can say, just to get confidence on the company, taking a minimum risk. And the best part about this is that we are not taking any franchisee fees from you. We are not taking any fixed capex, fixed
Mm-hmm.
opex from you. This is purely an investment in asset which is registered on your name. You are just giving it on someone. It is as simple as buying a house and giving it on rent to someone.
Absolutely.
That gives you security of your investment. It is not about
Correct.
investing in any scheme or
Correct.
investing in any particular company. You are
Mm,
investing in hard assets which are
assets.
registered in RTO. That makes it a 100% legit property of yours. You can also claim the depreciation and all those elements.
Sorry, Omkarji, probably coming as an operational question, because we'll be giving on rent. So for there'll be logistics situation that will happen. Maybe some accidents will also occur where the wear and tear of the vehicle would happen, the charging would happen. So I think it's a FICO model. So do you want to answer that question now?
Yes, sir. So, in terms of operations, right, like franchisee has just invested, right? Anything which is a problem of operations is my lookout. That is the reason we have kept a 10% budget on maintenance. Um, just to answer that question, what we do is we take commercial insurance from all the top players like ICICI Lombard. To differentiate, there a normal insurance comes at around 2,500 rupees. What we take for our personal vehicles, it comes around 2,500 to 3,000 rupees. But all
Okay.
the commercial insurance, it comes for around 9,000, 9,500 rupees. So that
Okay.
covers everything. Even the smallest of the damages to the vehicle is covered in it. In case there is an accident and the end consumer meets with an accident, even that hospitalization is covered in this insurance. So in
Oh.
a way, it covers absolutely everything. And
Mhm.
another question might rise in the minds of the franchisees is that if I am owning the vehicle and if anything goes wrong in terms of legal aspects, so would I be held liable for it? The answer for that is no. Because you are, even though you are the owner of the vehicle, you have given it to us for operations. So it is
Mhm.
eBikeGo and Float, which is responsible for any sort of legal action which happens. So
Mhm.
eBikeGo will take care of it, and that would be mentioned in the agreement which we signed with the franchise.
Great. So the charging would also happen at the location itself, and who will
Yes,
bear
and
the
hotel
electricity
will be
cost?
responsible
Because
for
it's, yeah,
charging.
you are, because it's operated by you directly.
Yes, so hotels will be
Wonderful.
responsible
Mhm.
for the charging part, and that's why we are giving them 20% of the revenue.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mr. Basha is actually, a real entrepreneur, and we well will know that the business would always have some ups and downs. So, what if the charging or the bookings are not happening? What happens in that case?
Yes, I think it is a very fair question, and all the entrepreneurs should have that question.
Mhm.
Is my screen visible to you?
Yes, it is. However, not yes. Now it is. The
Is it
spreadsheet
visible
you're
now?
talking? Lovely. Let's talk
Yes.
that
So what I've done is I was pretty sure that a question like this might occur. So I've
now.
created a stimulator wherein if you change the number of days, the entire value proposition changes. So let's say at 80% occupancy, the days which comes at around 24. What Mr. Like the question was at around 10 days. Let's say even if
Correct.
it is at 10 days, the returns which you are getting in 4 years is 7 lakh rupees. That means you are still the owner of the vehicles and you have earned an additional 7 lakh rupees on your principal. Like the principal you invested in buying the vehicles, the bike will still remain your asset after 4 years, and you earn an additional 7 lakh 70,000 rupees through this model. So this is an extremely worst case scenario which we are talking about. But even in
Hmm.
that extreme worst case scenario, you're making profits out of it. Even let's say a 70,000 profit also is not bad when we are talking about an extremely worst case scenario. But purely with the government tie-ups, I am 100% confident that this sort of a situation will not occur, purely because what will happen is the people will perceive it as a government initiative. So
Right.
people think that float, it would be float powered by Goa tourism. When that happens, people will perceive as if this is an initiative which is taken by the government, and that is why the occupancy would be stronger.
Uh, so ideally, probably coming with a question because we're talking a lot about tourism and that's what our focus is. So who should be the right target audience? Who do you think is the right fit this franchise should be taken by?
So, sir, I feel that the best franchisee for this is, as I mentioned earlier, that anyone with an aspiration to become an entrepreneur, anyone who wants to start their entrepreneurial journey without leaving their jobs, existing jobs, is a perfect target audience for me. That is first. Because here you have the confidence that even in the worst case scenario, as
Right.
Mr. Khalid asked a very appropriate question, that even if it is at 10 days occupancy, we are still getting a profit out of it. Like in extremely worst case scenario, we're still making profits. So this is a perfect scenario wherein whatever principle you're putting in, you're confident that in an extreme worst case scenario, also your principal is coming back to you in 4 years with some profits.
So again, we as we talk about densely populated places, especially the tourism places in UP
Yes.
like Lucknow, Agra, Varanasi, Ayodhya, Gorakhpur, there are a lot many, especially with the
Absolutely.
corridors coming in. Location की बात कर रहे हैं. So we're talking about location. I think the hotel would not allow, or we would not have enough space to be inside the hotel property or premise. What is the ideal location and how the rentals will be taken care of? Who pays the rent, sir?
Sorry, I did not get this question. You're saying that
What location should be the ideal location? So probably have a cluster of hotels in some facility, which is a tourist place. Do you think is that the place I should
So
be
to
in?
be very honest, my vision is to be present at all tourist destinations. By if I say all, in terms to quantify it, I have to be present at, let's say, 34, 50 odds locations in the next 2 years. I have to be present at 50 locations in the next 2 years. That is my vision, because in a way I also want to create a barrier to entry so that no other player replicates my model.
Hmm.
So for that, what I've done is I've already closed the big
Hmm.
players like Goa Tourism Board, let's the Andaman and Nicobar Tourism Board. I'm currently in talks with the Delhi, Gujarat, MP,
Mhm.
lot of tourism boards. Along with that, since I've been a ex employee of Taj and Club Mahindra, I've been actively in talks with them. So what
Mhm.
I'm trying to do is I'm trying to capture all the big players, and in a
Mhm.
way I'll be creating a barrier to entry so that no other player comes into the picture. So all the franchisees who come in at an early stage will definitely have an advantage, because right now, if you are placing the bikes at 500 rupees price point, definitely if we develop a monopoly sort of a thing, we can increase the price to 900, 800 rupees also. So that is how the returns will also increase once we have the monopoly. And this is now, right now, we are only restricted to the two-wheelers, right? Let's say in the next 2, 3 years, we can also bring in the four-wheelers to capture those people who are traveling with their big families. Let's say they can take cars on rental also from us. So this is just a stage one of it. Going forward, you can extend it to four-wheelers, and anyone who's been with us from an early stage will definitely have an advantage, is what I'm saying.
A lot of questions are coming here, especially for expansion. So, in a nutshell, are we looking for pan-India expansion? We have that bandwidth.
Sorry.
Expansion. expansion locations
We
region?
have all the bandwidth because purely as everyone has. That is the reason I had a lot of emphasis on the
Service
team.
providers. Yeah.
Yes, and with eBikeGo, we have been doing it for the past 4 or 5 years. We've been present in 7 locations, and we have the expertise to pull this off. Apart from that, we also have a few connects in the government. Since Mr. Nitin Gadkari ji is also working very closely with the team and the so all the connects which are required in the government for all the permissions and everything, we already have that sorted. So there would be no problems in terms of that. So yes, we have the bandwidth to take it anywhere and everywhere. I'm saying today, when I talk about today, I have 2 locations which are live purely because the government has invited us to be operational at 2 locations. So talking about today, I have 2 locations, but definitely anyone like for example, anyone says that I want to start this in UP or start this in Bihar. The only requisite is that I require minimum 50 vehicles to start a particular location just for the unit economics of operations.
How much area do I need, sir? How much area do I
There's
need?
no requirement of area. If the hotel do not provide us with the space, we can park it in the parking of the hotel. It is as simple as having it will consume space of 1 car maybe, because we can place the bikes laterally and we can simply place a kiosk at the reception where people can be educated about this particular opportunity, and people if they want it, they'll go and see the vehicle. There's no problem of space.
And then where do the charging happens? Will there be a center? How the charging happens?
So we'll be placing a kiosk where the bikes will be passed, and see this do not require any fancy charger. You can simply plug it in a simple 16 ampere plug. By 16 ampere plug, just for the simplicity of the audience, wherever we plug in a mixer or refrigerator, you can plug the charger in that socket and it will charge. It does not require any big setup.
How long is the duration? What is the kilometers, and how much time does it take to get charged?
So on an average, it requires 3 hours for charging, but that will happen overnight, and that is something which is at the responsibility of the hotels. The end consumer will get a 100% charged vehicle, if not 100%, at least 80% charged vehicle. And the kilometer range which we are talking about, it gives a range of 90 kilometers. Usually it gives a range of 120 in the European market, but considering the Indian road infrastructure, we have till now got an average of 100. But just to be on a very realistic scale, we are saying that it will give you a range of 80, to be a very realistic. Since I'm not selling it, I can say it very confidently that 80 is the range which you will get easily.
Mr. Lunia's question is also answered. So we give not hourly basis rental, it's a day basis rental that is given out.
Yes.
And Mr. Rahman is giving a question about the infrastructure and the damage maintenance that has all been covered. So please remember, for my audience, it's a FICO model, franchisee invested and company operated. Any operational expenses is borne by the company itself. A great business for somebody who wants to get into diversified business. They want to keep on continuing what they're doing, but also get into diversified business. Mr. Tomar is saying rent part is not clear yet. If one of the slide 500 was taken for the rent, so is it on hourly basis or daily basis? So that's daily basis that we're taking on.
So it is on daily basis, and at 500 rupees price point, you'll get the bike for entire 24 hours.
What is the renewal time, sir? Probably we see an agreement of 4 years. So what happens after 4 years? What would be the renewal charge? A very valid question he's asking.
Yes, absolutely. Very valid question. So what happens after 4 years is, see, the bike is still yours. You're the owner of the vehicle. If you want to, if you want the vehicles back, we will make sure that the logistics being covered and you get the bikes back at your location. If you want to sell the vehicles off, we have, since we've been in the business for a long time, what we can do is we can help you sell the vehicles at a very good price. Let's say at 10,000-15,000 rupees per price. I mean, per bike. That is a good cost to sell after 4 years, purely because in EV, right now there is a standard depreciation of 25%, which is considered. So if you see after 4 years, the value is 0, but still with our connects, there are a lot of B2B players, right? So what we can do is we can reuse the vehicle in the B2B segment. Where the look and feel of the bike doesn't matter to an end audience. We can probably change the batteries, and with the recent development of we finding the lithium reserves in India, the battery prices would drop considerably. Like after 4 years, we'll probably get a battery at 6,000, 5,000 rupees. So we can change the battery and the bike would be as good as new, especially in the B2B industry where the look and feel of the bike doesn't matter.
Absolutely. In the recent budget, it was done. And what is there an exit option in this business? If somebody wants to drop in between, is there an exit option, and is it possible? So, Mr. Anil, absolutely, as you're as seeking a lot of questions, I would really advise you, let's get in talk in one and
Yes,
one,
yes,
and I'm sure all the clarification would be helping. So, of course, all the possibilities are there because Omkarji is absolutely open
yes,
on taking up any business opportunity and giving a solution. In favor of time, I probably take one or two more questions. As they mentioned, maximum 94% booking is every month. What is will be the return in unseason? So
yes,
probably places when we say yes, they are tourism is absolutely a seasonal business, but
absolutely.
also with a lot of religious places coming in now, where the tourism is absolutely happening. A lot of corridors are happening. This is absolutely has become a 12 season business where
Yes.
the business is absolutely running up very well. So yes,
Yes, plus there is one more
mhm,
objective towards it. That is a very valid question, Khalid sir. That
mhm,
what happens is you are saying that what will happen during the off season. So what
mhm,
happens is, sir, right now the off season right now is only during monsoon. So let's say in 3 months is the only period where there is off season. What we can do is, if we are not getting occupancy, let's say for 2 3 months, we can increase the price during the peak season. Let's say during November, December, January, we can increase the price point to 700 rupees or 800 rupees just to get an average. So
absolutely
so whatever projections we have given you, 70 75% or 80%, it's an average. We have considered all the scenarios of 12 months, and based on that, we have taken a flat average of 80%. That 80%, by 80%, just to define 80%, out of 365 days, my bike will only run for 280 days. So I have already accounted for 3 months of no occupancy. Based on that,
absolutely
all the projections are given. If I take 100% occupancy, the numbers would be around 4x, 5x on your investment. But we wanted to be very realistic. So we have already accounted for 3 months of off season. But still we can cover that basically by increasing the price during season. That is how the industry works. Entire hotel industry works on the similar principle that
correct.
during off season, there is no occupancy to the
That's
hotels.
the
But when
variable
the
rates
season
we take.
comes,
Yeah.
the prices are inflated, and that is how they take an average for an entire year. That
Well,
is
yes, and friends, I see there are a lot of questions which are still not answered and also answered in the meantime. However, in favor of time, although it should have been 45 minutes, we're
sorry, sir.
already up on
I'll
that.
just like to
You
quickly answer one
take
more
one more.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Anil
Please
sir
go
has
ahead.
asked a question saying that what would be an expense of the franchisee? So
Correct.
apart from your principal investment of 7 lakh rupees, there would not even be a 1 rupee additional which you'll have to spend, because you are just investing on the asset. Operations is my problem. If my maintenance budget is getting exceeded, it will go from my pocket. By my pocket, I mean it will go from eBikeGo's pocket, and the franchisee will not have to pay anything extra. Sorry, one more question. Mohit Bansal is asking that 500 rental is too high. Sir, if you see, you get a vehicle on rental basis at anywhere, you will get a rental bike at around 300 400 rupees, plus you'll have to fill an additional petrol of 2 to 300 rupees.
Correct.
In EVs, 500 is an absolute cost of ownership. In 500 rupees, you'll not have to spend even a single rupee, which is more than 500 rupees. So
And
500.
Mohit, sorry, I would like to add here because I think you're where you're coming from, because there are markets who are charging probably 10 rupees per kilometer if you're coming from that, but that's Loha. That's not the pleasure that you're getting. This is probably a complete bike that you're getting, and of
Yes.
course, when you want to travel.
Absolutely. So this
So
10
yeah,
rupees people are, you are giving, those bikes are micro mobility bikes, which
correct.
you can use for 5 kilometers, 7 kilometers, 10 kilometers maximum.
Absolutely.
This is like a proper Activa, which you get.
Mm,
This is like a proper Activa model bike. Just to give you a reference, it looks very similar to Activa. If you want, I can also show you the photo of the bike very quickly, just to end this discussion. Probably this could be a right note to close this. That the bikes which we are using,
mhm,
just give me a second.
please. And friends, in the meantime, while it's bringing up, please write back to us. I'm continuously posting the numbers on the chat box, and our do your own business specialists are eager to help you, and that's what we see, the right
Yes.
motive.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes. So this is how the bikes look. It is as similar to an Activa, or you can compare it with any petrol vehicle which is currently active. The seats and everything, it is very comfortable for two people to travel.
And friends who have seen Shark Tank yesterday, they were also a provider like this who were actually giving services. And I think this industry is really picking up very well. And let's take the first mover advantage before all the major players jump into it. And Omkar, you just mentioned that. So, friends, I think time has really come. We have exceeded the time, but overwhelming questions have always been coming in. Friends, please keep on writing to us, and our hotline numbers are 97176 83838. I repeat, our hotline number is 97176 83838. After everything, we need feedback. So, of course, if you have any even questions, our email address would be feedback@franchiseindia.in. Feedback@franchiseindia.in is our email address. Please write to us. We'll be more than happy to assist you. And friends who have joined us directly, our key account managers will be calling you individually to understand that if you are interested, we can take it forward. And Omkarji would be more than happy to do any tri-party call. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your time.
Thank you all, and thank you very much for joining us. Have the best of your rest of the day you ever had. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Omkarji. Thank you.